Episode of Sports and Songs podcast. Andy and I are here for a little February 20th show. It's season 4, episode 15. This is the sports edition. Andy, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. We are winter sports winding down.
Yep.
We'll get to it later in the show with all the winter sports here in March Madness is kicking off. State tournament time here. It's only February, but we've got storms rolling in. We've got snow. We've got brackets being announced.
Tournament time, baby.
It's tournament time, baby. Now, we'll cover a lot of that. Tonight's all sports stuff. Major League Baseball has not started yet as far as games, but Friday, I think, is the first couple of games. Saturday, everyone kicks off their schedule for spring season. The spring training, we'll cover that. The Twins have a big split squad game to kick things off. One home and one away on Saturday right away. You'll be covering the Mets. Yep. But let's start off with the trivia question.
Yes, we always do. Go ahead.
We're going to be covering a little wrestling here. State sectional wrestling. Okay. High school varsity wrestling. Which two big schools? What are the two biggest schools in the state of Minnesota that do not offer a wrestling program in their high school?
Ooh.
This is boys, not girls. What two big schools do not even offer a program? And I'm talking not even co-op with another local school.
They don't even bother. Oh, wow.
So they don't have it at all. There's two. We'll cover it at the end of the story. I just ran across it today. I never knew this, but I thought I'd introduce that into the trivia. We'll have the answer at the end of the show. But where do you want to start? A little.
We could do. Yeah, let's go to the NASCAR.
Racing season kicked off. You know, they started at the Coliseum with that pre.
Yep, the Coliseum.
They're doing that every year, the pre thing. Now we're live into the regular season. Things are getting hot and
this
heavy.
This is like their Super Bowl. They do their first one right off the bat.
Yes.
And very interesting race, very intriguing race. There's a few notes on it here. First of all, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is your winner.
Okay.
Went into what they call overtime. I'll explain the overtime here for NASCAR. It's green-white checker is what they do it is. So if there's a crash like the last couple laps, you cannot end the race under a caution. They wait, clear it up, then you go green flag, white flag, checker. So they did like 2 or 3 overtimes before they finally got this one done. In fact, they were coming around turn 3 going to turn 4 when there was another wreck again, and NASCAR said, nope, close enough to done. It's good. Call it. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wins. Nudges out Joey Logano, which made me very, very happy. But just here's some things about some of the guys. You know, everybody says it's boring till the end. It's kind of like any other sport. Football, basketball, hockey.
It's like watching NBA basketball.
That's all that really matter. This one really proved it. But here's where you got to watch the whole thing. 40 drivers started. Ricky Stenhouse started 31st and won. Kyle Busch started 36th. He was actually leading when the first crash happened. He should have won it, but he ended up finishing 19th. AJ Allmendinger started 29th, finished 6th. Daniel Suarez started 24th, finished 7th. Ross Chastain, who was leading for a while, started 23rd, finished 9th. This is out of 40 guys. Riley Herbst started 38th, finished 10th. Travis Pastrana started 40th and finished 11th. I got some notes on Travis here for you, Dan. Pay attention. You're going to like this. He is an X Games gold medalist in the Supercross, motocross. He's done some the rally racing, other stuff for motocross and the X Games. He's got gold medals in that. His wife, her name is Lynn Z. Adams Hawkins. And you may say, Hawkins? Yes, that's right. Sister to former Foo Fighters drummer, Tyler Hawkins. Taylor Hawkins' sister.
Taylor Hawkins, that's his sister?
Her husband, former X Games guy, finished 11th at the Daytona 500. I know you're going to start watching NASCAR now. You being the Foo Fighters guy you are, you might have to start
We're here
watching.
to educate. Oh, interesting.
Yes, so
I did not know that connection at all.
Bringing them together again here. And here's the rankings now. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won the race, but he's still third in points. You can go to the NASCAR site. If you can figure out the point system, please let me know. But the way they work it, if you win, you're in. Top 16 guys make the chase at the end. You take everybody who's won a race, they fill up the spots, and after that, you get the 16 drivers. So you see, Ricky Stenhouse is third in points, but he's automatically in. So if the season ended today after one race, here's your 16 drivers in, and look at who's at 16th. There's Travis down there. So there we go. That's that. So the fun is racing. I will be doing bi-weekly specials called
No
Ricky Bobby just missed the cut.
No Ricky Bobby.
But there will be what we call the Redneck Sports and Songs edition every couple of weeks, where we talk wrestling, roller derby, and racing. I am working on some of those we got coming up.
Oh yes.
You just wait. You get your Copenhagen ready. Get your Busch Light ready. We're gonna have some redneck shows coming up this spring.
Little latte.
World Baseball Classic. Cover a little Pool B today. Not all the teams, just a couple teams. Some of the names you might sound familiar to you as we go through. Pool B is Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic. They'll be playing in Tokyo there the next couple weeks for their first rounds. Team Japan, there's their uniforms. There's their prides. A couple names you might recognize. Yu Darvish, the Padres. He'll be pitching for Team Japan. And this guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Very good.
Now, some kid, I don't know, flash in the pan.
Never have.
But they still list him as a two-way player, so I don't know what he's going to do in the Classic, if he's going to field or pitch or what he's going to do. We shall see. Ohtani is there also. Korea, some guys from the KBO. I know we push them every now and then. Go watch their games. A couple names you might know. Kwon Kim used to pitch for the Cardinals. He was in the KBO last year, but in 2020 and 2021, he was with the Cardinals. 3-0 one year, 7-7 the next. In fact, last year in the KBO, he was 13-3 with a 2.13 ERA. Is he happy in the KBO? Sure.
Well done.
Is he going to be in Major League Baseball? Sure. He's not one of those guys who's playing to get a Major League Baseball contract. He's playing for love of country, love of game, and to still have a job somewhere. I don't think he's too worried about where it is. He's just, look at him. He's a happy young man. Look at the face. And Tommy Edman, second baseman for the Cardinals, will also be playing for Team Korea. Born in Pontiac, Michigan, but kind of like the Olympics. If you have a family member who's from that country, mother or father, that's how you get in. So good for him. Chance to play, get some swings.
Okay.
Minnesota State High School League girls hockey tournament starts this week. As you can tell, Minnesota here, we're having a snowstorm. Must be tournament time. Class A, here's your left side of the bracket. Mankato East and number 2 Proctor Hermantown will kick off the 22nd at 11. Then after that, it's Laverne against Orono, the number 3. They rank the top 5, and the rest are by draw. Your right side of the bracket, Albert Lee against the number 1 seed War Road. And then the bottom half, Fergus and South St. Paul, the 5-4 matchup right there. So Double A, and the championship game, the 25th at 4 o'clock at the X. Double A, Rosemont against number 2 Andover. Lakeville North against number 3 Edina. Centennial Spring Lake Park against your number 1 seed Minnetonka Skippers. Skippers, girls number 1. Go girls.
The Skippers.
And then the Moorhead and the Gentry Stars. 2 teams right there. They got to play the 5-4. I'd rather play the Edina than either Moorhead or Gentry, to tell you the truth. Those 2 teams kind of scare me. Being in a Minnetonka alum, I'm kind of partial, but that second round game, assuming we get through the quarterfinals, I'm not getting cocky, but let's say Minnetonka makes the semis. That round scares me more than the finals, which will be the 25th at 7 p.m. at the X. Girls gymnastics, if you're into that, please go to the site and get the lineups. And the reason we're not going to girls gymnastics, it's like with track and field or wrestling, with all the different events and classes and this and that. We're just a 20, 25-minute show, folks. I can't get into all that. If you follow gymnastics, you know what I'm talking about. But their schedules are on the website. I'm sorry? I did not look at the teams. They just got them out.
Local teams going.
Girls gymnastics. Watertown is always in there. We're pretty. We pride ourselves on being good at it here. Yes. Yeah. It was like 7 out of 8 or some silly thing like that. Yeah, just unreal numbers. A boys section is starting for boys hockey right now, and also I saw some other things on that. They were supposed to start playing games Wednesday. They're moving them to Tuesday because of the storm. So please check your schedules. We'll do our best to follow them up on our social medias here on the Twitter and the Facebook. If we see someone school-wise changing it, we will share that information. So if you want to go watch, please follow. And a lot of these schools now this time of year will also stream the games too for a small fee.
Yeah, very popular.
For a small fee, supports the schools, supports everything else. So if you go, hey, Wednesday, we'll go to the game. There might not be a game Wednesday. They might have moved it to Tuesday. So please watch your schedules. All right, Major League Baseball. First of all, forget that, Dan. Did you have any other high school stuff you want to talk about? Well, we're still in the high school frame of mind.
I got a little wrestling, and I wanted to put the trivia question up there because of that. But let's do wrestling. What I did, I was on assignment here this last week for Class AA, Section 2, AA, and I went to the team sectionals, and boy, was that good. The reason that's always good is it's because it's local, and you've got 3 of the top 6 ranked teams in the state of Minnesota all under one roof. It was held in New Prague. New Prague's ranked 2nd in the state. Watertown Mayor is ranked 5th. That's in that same bracket. And Scott West, which is a combination of Jordan and Belle Plaine, also in that bracket, they're ranked 6th. All 3 are in the final 4, one of the toughest brackets there was. I went to that. Only one team makes it. New Prague came out victorious there. Watertown Mayor beat Scott West in the semifinals, and New Prague beat St. Peter in the other semifinal. And then New Prague beat Watertown 37-32 in the final to advance to state. Here's the teams going to state. Now, Watertown Mayor, remember, Andy, we went to that last year. They beat New Prague to go to state in a very close match. And so they butted heads again, and this time New Prague is advancing. So they're going to go to state. Simley's the number 1 team in the state altogether. They won their sectional final 81-0.
Wow.
81-0. And that's how weak some of these other sections.
And that was their section final they won?
That was their section final. So when people ask, why do I spend time going to the sectional finals? Well, when there's teams like this, it's the equivalent of going to a state tournament is how good these matches are. So now Cass and Manorville's 3rd, Becker's 4th. All these teams won and will be advancing. Now it drops down. The other teams going to state as a 7th ranked team, an 8th, a 9th, and a 12th. There's your top 8 teams all going to state. And like you mentioned with hockey, they'll put the top 5 in there. We already know that it's going to be basically the same order for the first 5. The last 3 will put in random draw. That'll be pretty good. I'm planning on attending that match on March 2nd to see that. And what I'll do, Andy, is I'd like to go and watch those first rounds, that quarterfinal and the semifinals. And then later that night is another session. I think I might come home and stream the finals because on the AAA side, we've got Waconia going to state, Waconia going. And if you're streaming, you can really lock into only one at a time. So I'd like to go and keep my eyes on all these other matches because Class A will be going on at the same time. Class AA, which is these guys here, which will be good, will be going on at the same time as Class AAA. Now, AAA in this section here locally for us, the Shakopee Sabres have went to state 5 straight years. They're in this section with Waconia and Eden Prairie. Waconia got by Eden Prairie, and Eden Prairie beat out Shakopee. Waconia is going to state. That's the other reason I want to go and watch how they perform. That's such a tough section. And they're going. They got some good talent. So I'm looking forward to providing live coverage on that, and then just streaming the particular matches that evening when the finals are. But that's all I've got for wrestling. We're back to your stuff there, but it is fun. This coming week is all individuals, so they go through the 14 individual weights. Top 2 of each section. The winner and the runner-up will advance to state. Everyone else is done and eliminated, and that'll be the following week. So there's a week off before we get to this March 2nd event, and then the individuals are March 3rd and 4th.
Did you have results from dance or no?
Okay, so dance this last week, dance and jazz. We have friends of the family in the New Prague program. New Prague has never went to state in dance or jazz or high kick. Last year they advanced to state, and you're trying to go. You're number one. You're trying to go, and then once you get there, you try to finish in the top 6. If you're not in the top 6, you're done for the day. You perform in the morning, and then you're not in the finals for the down to the 7 p.m. night show, which I think 18 teams go to state. They went last year. Very good team, very good coaching, and they went to state but did not make the finals last year. This year they went to state and made the finals. They placed 6th out of the top 6. So really, ultimately, by going there, they finished, you would have to say, dead last of the finalists. But for a program like that, in any one of these programs, just to make that final 6th,
you made the second round. That's great.
You're making that second round is what it's all about. Then your goals are, next year are to get up there. But there's some top competition here. My wife went and watched these events. These programs all around the big schools and the small schools too. Very good programs. And then New Prague also went in the high kick. They did not make the finals for the second day, but once again, it's rare to have one school qualify both sections of the dance, both pieces, the jazz and the high kick at the same time, which is a great statement. A great program there for the Trojans down there in New Prague with the coaching staff there and the girls. Broke a record, basically. That's the highest they've ever gone in the career of the sport there at the school. Qualified back-to-back for state and the first time ever in the finals.
Congrats to them. All right, Major League Baseball is changing some rules this year, and we'll go over some of these and some more. First is the pitch timer. I know they've dabbled it in the minors. They really should have. They've kind of been doing it, but haven't. Pitch timer, 15 seconds when bases are empty, 20 seconds with a runner on base. Hitter receives 1 timeout per plate appearance. The average minor league 9-inning game reduced by 26 minutes in the from 21 to 22. They got bigger bases. First, second, and third increased from 15 inches to 18 inches square. Bigger bases are expected to have a positive impact on player safety. Blah, 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 blah is that's what I hear. And the shift restriction. 2 infielders must be positioned on either side of second when pitch is released. All 4 infielders must have both feet within the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber. So there. So here we go. Take it one at a time.
So really, infield. Yeah, really, infield is just me. Your feet are on the dirt. Basically, if you're on artificial turf, you're just inside that line that goes around. But yeah, that circle.
Okay, pitcher rules. Pitch time rules. 15 seconds when the bases are empty. 20 with a runner on base. 30 seconds in between hitters. Hitters get 1 timeout per plate appearance. Violations are automatic ball or strike. I also heard something to this respect too, Dan. Something like you can only throw over to first once.
Yes, there is something like that.
They were tweaking that, but
in play.
Okay, first of all, there's 15 seconds between pitches and they're empty and this and that. Okay, you're gonna have to have a shot clock type situation. It's like everything else. Say it doesn't start right away. Are we going to be fighting and arguing about this? Therefore, are we really saving time? I like the fact hitters only get 1 timeout per plate appearance. It drove me nuts back in the day watching Nomar Garcia-Parra and David Ortiz and some of these other guys do their whole shtick before each pitch. Drove me up a wall. The 15 seconds with base is empty. 20 seconds with the runner on base. I'd really like to know how much these guys really some of them were pretty quick on it anyway. So I know some pitchers, like Johnny Cueto, you like to do the doing quick pitch every now and then. Is that going to be in your arsenal now? I got 15 seconds. I'm going to throw it when I'm ready, dude. Get in there. Are you a fan of the timer?
Well, here's what it means. Now you've got another person manning another clock. And that's their only job now. So every pitch, and there's what, 250 pitches in a game, someone's going to have to be manning this, starting and stopping. And my question now is, how will it be enforced? You know, the clock goes dead in football, NFL. They don't get the clock; it's a penalty. Is it going to be kind of lenient to start with, or is it going to be, hey, it hits zero, that's a ball, we're moving ahead? So the ump's got to be watching this now as well. The other thing, the ump has his own on his watch is the clock, I think, and the manual person doing it that the fans can see. That
and also the ump's the whole plate has to be watching
right?
for balks and everything else. He can't be looking at a clock.
Well, he's still watching everything else. He's still controlling the game of how many balls the pitcher has. You know, where's the other balls coming in from the bad boys? He's watching all these things. This home plate ump. So now you're doing 15 seconds, and you got to remember, okay, someone's on base. Now we got to do it 20 seconds. So I'm not a fan. I'm glad that's going to quicken, speed up the game a little bit. But how are you going to enforce it? Is the manager going to come storming out of the dugout on a crucial play on a full count, and he missed it by a second? Hey, that's a walk. Put my guy on. How are you going to go over that? Is this going to be instant replay?
Yeah,
what
if the guy starts his leg kick, is that good? Does he have to release the ball? That's what I haven't heard. And also, if you watch football, let's listen back to the Super Bowl. And also these replay judges in football tell you this. It hits a zero. The ref saw zero by the time he looks to see if it's snapped. That's another second. And that's usually when they're snapping the ball in football. Okay, what defines the pitch? His leg kick started. He releases the ball. What? Because you got a long leg kick. Okay, now you only got 12 seconds between pitches. If you got to release it in 15, or do you start your motion, if you will?
Well, I think that this season spring training camp games that start Friday and Saturday, it's going to be interesting to watch, not the game, but how are all these things going to play out? Because they're going to get 30 games to, kind of understand it better. When the season starts, it's not going to be something fresh. So they'll get the 30 games to understand this. But in the past, it was the pitchers taking too much time, so they sped that up. Now this rule here gets the hitters, kind of makes them accountable for getting in. We don't need everyone relacing the batting gloves. We don't need everyone doing all those things. So they can, use the discipline to get a little quicker. It may shave some time off the game. I don't know. That'll be interesting to watch. But I think it'll be the tough thing is if they if there's a penalty, if they do it wrong, who's going to be calling, how are the arguments going to ensue after that? So it's going to force the people to do things faster, which is good, but it's a lot of tedious things. Every pitch, when there's 250 pitches in a ball game, at least every time we're going to be looking.
Two words that scare me on this.
It's
2 words that scare me on this.
Go ahead.
Angel Hernandez. He's one of the worst umpires out there. Those critique umpires. Are you going to have? Okay, you got 4 umpires already. Is there a 5th guy who watches the clock? Is it watched up by? Is the guy sitting with the announcers and he hits a buzzer? The home plate umpire hears it in his ear. And also, you got some cities. You got New York. You got Chicago. You got a full stadium in there. When it gets done like 4, 3, 2, 1, is the crowd going to start cheering and chanting that? And is that going to off-throw the pitcher and the hitter? That could make it a little more fun for fans on that aspect of it. So let's kind of keep that in play too. Yep.
Kind of like the shot clock in NCAA basketball. Fans get into it for that. It could come in.
So we'll see.
But we're going to have these things, there's going to be a clock malfunction.
The sunlight's hitting it. I can't see it.
Yeah, it's all these things, and the umps do get graded.
Yes.
Each game they do, the home plate ump. There's this actual scorecard that goes out on how many correct balls, strikes, things that they did, and so this will all be added too. How many they got right, how many things they got wrong. So it's another thing to do. And guys like you said, Angel Hernandez, who's already bad. what is it's going to throw some more complexity into all of this, but it's trying to speed it up. I get it. But
and you can follow those
it'll be
umpires on
interesting.
Twitter too, where it shows their grades. So, right, the base is going to be bigger now, 18 by 18 instead of 15 by 15. Now, first of all, the 90 feet between bases is center of the base to center of the base. So they're not changing that, but it's still shorter. Okay, first of all, Ricky Henderson's record is not in jeopardy. There's no problem there. Okay, I'm not worried about that at all. But that's overall 6 inches closer. How many plays did we see were close to start with? Do you think stolen bases will be up because of this?
They talked about that last year, and they're trying to increase stolen bases, so they're increasing the size of the bag. I don't know. They're also spinning it as a safety.
I think it's to increase stolen bases and make plays. Yeah.
My question, Andy, is, who is the company delivering all these new bases and doing all the installs on the field for first and third base? It's a lot of work to rework all these fields. But some companies out there making it rich on this decision.
I would like to buy some of the old bases. If anyone has them for sale, let me know. They will have.
I bet they will be out there. They will be available.
You will see those at the garage sales at the end of the year and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, they're making them bigger. I would have been okay if at first base, if they want to do safety, they use the old softball bag at first base, which orange on the foul side.
Yep, that was
that I would have been okay with for safety reasons, but I don't know. The bigger ones, first of all, like I said, the stolen base record is not even close to being in jeopardy. Although I think some guys might take advantage of it. Some of those guys are quicker. This could help them.
Will there be advertising in the future, on these bigger bases? Is that something they're paving the way for the future, maybe?
Next rule change. Rules for position players pitching. The position player may pitch if the game is in extra innings, in the 9th inning when trailing by 8 or more, in the 9th inning when leading by 10 or more. Now, I think it got a little ridiculous with position players pitching last year. I thought that got ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the pitching staffs already have 12, 13, 14 guys on the staff, and now they don't want to use them, so they're going to bring in a third baseman, a utility guy, an outfielder to pitch a couple innings.
Yeah, you're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's like I brought up last year when we had Town Ball Tuesday on. Do you have in sports that have the continuous clock when you're so far ahead in basketball or hockey for high school and that they don't slow down the clock? Are they going to have a thing where you can just hey, you know what? 10-run rule in Major League Baseball, we're really going to get to that point pretty soon? If we do, that's going to affect stats, and you're going to see a lot of horror about that. Pitching-wise, you got 12, 13 guys in your staff. Yeah. You're a professional. Man up and get out there and pitch.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. We'll see once again how that goes through the course of the year, because then they may be managing to that. Let's get an extra run in, and therefore we can bring the guy in.
Run. Do you sandbag give up a run?
Do the fans even? Do the fans?
Do you sandbag give up a run so your third baseman come pitch, and now you got your third baseman pitching in there who's not used to it, going back to the 15-second shot clock. Really? That's the disaster I'm waiting to see happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of that can all move in a lot of ways here. I think we'll find a lot out in the spring training with.
Or you're going to see more guys listed oh no, he's our 14th pitcher on the staff, like an Ohtani, so he's not really a fielder coming in to pitch. I think if you're coming from position to the mound, you're
that's true.
Changing. If you're
I think this is more considering it like an emergency quarterback in the NFL. You got to list before the game starts who's your starter, who's your backup, who's an emergency. And you can't bring the emergency guy in unless it is an emergency. That's kind of what this is getting at.
The ghost runner is going to be permanent. Ghost runner, if you're new to the game. Extra innings, you start with a runner on second base. That runner is whoever was the last out before that. You can't just put any guy out there. So with that said, I was never a fan of that to start with. Still not a fan. Period. You got anything on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's and then you're looking at who the last guy was, how quick, how fast he is. Then maybe you lay a bunt down. It depends on things, but it screws up your RBIs and runs scored and things because your totals don't tie out
It's
on
an
the box
unearned
score because the
run,
guy just
so
shows up on
yeah.
second. So it's an unearned. I know that he's there. It makes the game go quicker, but it's the same for the bottom half of the 10th inning coming up. They get the same advantage. So sometimes you're sharing, you're giving up a run every inning, and you're still going on to 13.
Okay, here's the shift. Here's when we're on the shift for the positions. All four infielders must have their feet on the base. Two fielders on infielders on each side of second. Switching positions. In a given inning, infielders may not switch sides. So you can't put your third baseman over on second base side and vice versa, like they did when they do the shift. Sometimes the third baseman went over between first and second. I've heard some teams saying what they might do is take the chance. Okay, say it's a left-handed hitter. Okay, bring your left fielder in to play between first and second, just outside the infield. You know what I'm saying? And then the center field goes and plays like a left center.
Yeah, there's no rules on the outfield guys, so you may be able to manipulate that rule a little bit.
And the center fielder goes and plays like a left center
as well
type of position. If the guy's going to pull that bad, why not? And you know what? If they want to do that, again, here's what I said about the shift before. You're a pro hitter. Learn to hit the other way. So.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan either. I think, on defense, you got 9 guys out there. Play them wherever the heck you want. That's your prerogative. There shouldn't be specifications on where they should or should not play. You can put them all on one side if you want. You're a pro hitter, dump it down the other side. So this is getting to be a lot, but it reduces the over.
I'd be okay with they said 2 guys on each side of second. I don't like everybody on the infield because if you look back at the old Metrodome days, Knobloch played a shallow right field basically sometimes on the turf. So if you want to do that, bunt. And players still weren't doing it. So
it's an interesting thing. It'll be fun to watch.
That's what I got. Now, a couple other things I got here for you. I don't have pictures for them. I don't want to be one of those I told you so's. I'm better than that. But if you noticed, the first day of spring training, Jacob deGrom hurt his side and was pulled from practice. I love deGrom. Don't get me wrong. I wish he was still a Met. He's not. I get it. You never want to see anyone get hurt. You don't want to see a guy you used to lose his career that way.
Correct.
But wow, a lot of Mets fans are like, whew,
Yeah, and I don't care who it is, if it's someone you like or not. The very first day, a guy gets hurt,
a big contract,
playing some long toss or something. It's the first day of the season.
So he's got that. So they're babying him. And funny, he's not really a pitching coach. He's a special advisor on the pitching staff with the Texas Rangers this year. Is Greg Maddux. So deGrom can pick that brain a little bit. Does that mean deGrom goes away from being the power pitcher and becomes more of a finesse pitcher, tries to learn how to do that? I don't know if you could. It's like going from the scrambling quarterback to a drop back passer. Can that be done? Who knows? We'll see. Other notes out of the Dodgers organization. Noah Syndergaard has been picking up some velocity in his fastball, so things are coming back for Thor. So good news there. Happy for Thor. Glad to see the young man doing well. Just please, God, don't wear your hair in a ponytail during a game again. That was embarrassing. That's all I got to say. I sent them a message.
Yes.
Thor, buddy. Actually, the ponytail.
Now, the only other thing we had this weekend, Andy, the only other thing was XFL
started
week 1.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm not going to cover it too much.
They're underway.
They're underway now.
Football junkie, there you go. It gets you your fix. It's kind of like
They,
I look at it this way: there's got to be fans for it. College football season, there's 10 channels showing football games. And as I'm flipping the channels during college football season, I'm going, really? Someone wants to watch Middle Tennessee State and Western Texas play football on FS2? Obviously, they paid the contract. Someone's down there watching it. So there must be
yeah, it'll be interesting. So the XFL, really starts in the winter. They play I think it's a 10-game schedule, and then the USFL is more of spring, where they're more April, May, June, and so they're splitting it out so it's not a true overlap.
But everybody wanted.
Yep, it's going to be year-round football, and I think they already know that because of the research that they've done, that there's a demand for football 12 months a year.
Well, and also, that's why remember, there is no minor league football. This is kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's a minor league
scuttlebutt around the campfire. In the next year, the next collective bargaining for the NBA, look for them to be on strike. It's about as much NBA talk as we've had in the last 2 months on the show, and what they're gonna get out of us right now. But NBA goes on strike, they'll be surprised. Yeah. You got players nowadays that don't want to play 2 games in a row. They sit out. Really? Pay me more money? I ain't got no time for you guys. But look for NBA to be holding out pretty soon or striking. College basketball, their section tournament should be starting again here pretty soon before March Madness. So watch for Big Ten tournaments. Congratulations to Indiana women's basketball for winning the Big Ten title. Kudos to the girls there. But that should be a good tournament. Girls tournament's always good for Big Ten. Tough. Big Ten men. Everybody makes it, but you know what? Gophers, maybe in a couple of years. This is just, if there were a pro team, they'd be rebuilding. And let's just call it what it is. It's not pretty to watch. Coach is a nice guy, kind of a great guy,
season, but
wonderful person, not a head coach. Not saying I am, not saying I do any better, just saying he's not a head coach.
Now I got a trivia.
Yeah.
I have a trivia answer, Andy. Beginning of the show, we asked what are the 2 biggest schools in the state of Minnesota that do not offer a wrestling program at their high school at the varsity level. Do you have any thoughts on who this 2 teams could be?
Stab in the dark at one of these here. I'm going to say no. I was going to say Rochester, but then I think they got Rochester does have a team. I got nothing.
The St. Louis
Park,
Duluth
really?
East and St. Louis Park. Pretty big school districts, big schools, and they've got neighboring schools that offer wrestling, so they can open enroll and go somewhere else. They don't even have a co-op. There's no such thing as wrestling in St. Louis Park or Duluth East.
See, out here at the smaller schools,
I didn't know that. I guess
we just say, oh, sure, fine, it's the Mond, West Tonka, Watertown Mayor team. We'll throw all your names in there.
Yeah, you just keep adding all the names behind it for small schools. But you're right, and all the small schools have wrestling, it seems like. It's the bigger city ones that don't offer, or they're not competitive, so it doesn't pay to do it. Title IX brought in other to equivalate with the girls programs, and they're using lacrosse or something else, but it doesn't pay. And like I say, some of these other big schools that are not good, not competitive, does it even pay? South St. Paul went up against Simile and lost 81-0 in the sectional finals. Not an early round of the tournament. The finals,
the other schools in the state, just
not a point.
Simile.
Yeah, and the other one is Totino Grace went to sectionals, won it.
They were
71-0.
Wow,
was the final for the section. So 2 shutouts. But Totino Grace is ranked 12th in the state, and they'll probably lose the first 2 matches they play, and they probably won't be competitive at all at state, because that's how good the good teams are versus
like when you showed
teams. So hats off.
I showed that graphic earlier, top 8 teams that made it, but they weren't ranked the top 8 ranked, because there was 3 teams, Scott West and Watertown, all from the same bracket, that are all in the top 10.
and a couple lower down got beat out as well because they're in the same bracket with the other teams. So you're facing really the top 12 teams made it. The worst team that made it to state is Totino Grace. They're ranked 12th in the state. They're not going to be that competitive in any of their matches. So it's going to be interesting. Hats off that they won the section, but the quality of some of these top teams are so
and
different.
Grace
We'll be reporting that in 2 more weeks.
Totino Grace could send that hate mail to Dan at the Totino Grace could send their hate mail to Dan at Sports and Songs Podcast.
Yes. And they can, and these teams also know by going to state that they're like, hey, we're going to do the best we can, but there's not as big of a chance of an upset like hockey, basketball. Sometimes in basketball, your team gets hot. Sometimes you just can't shoot and there's upsets. Wrestling, it really does not go that way too often unless you get matches, weights that don't match up and you're really off kilter with who you've got matching up with. But
I don't know about other sports like a track or gymnastics, for example, but for wrestling, just because Watertown Mare didn't make it as a team doesn't mean we're not sending individuals.
So this week, Friday and Saturday is the individual. So now you get the teams that are out of it, like teams like Scott West, Watertown Mare, St. Peter in the section that I went to. Their only goal now, because they can't go as a team, is to do the best they can in the individual.
Can New Prague have guys in individual also? So even though you're going to state as a team, you can still be an individual.
Yes. And many times for the good teams, Simile is the same way. New Prague will be the same way. They'll have multiple guys going both ways, if you will, the team and the individual. And there's a chance there to get hurt, to get injured, to get winded, to get beat up. And, what is your goal? The goal is to win state with your team, or is your goal to win individual state? You don't care how the team does. You have that whole question mark going on because, perfect world, everyone's going to go out there and just do it. But you're going up against the top best in the state.
Kind of like football player both categories. In the bowl game, he wants to go pro.
There's more chance for it's like that. Do you not go to
or is the team saying no? You're 100. Your weight class. We're strong enough there in the weight class. You go individual. That's probably right there too.
Yeah. So there's management decisions on that to see where they're going to wrestle at, or if they're make weight at a couple different weights and they're flexible. They may insert them into another spot where they have a better chance to advance to state to get there. But once again, the very good guys, we're going to be watching, Max McAnally for Waconia here. Some of these guys ranked that's section 2A wrestling that I watched for the team this coming weekend for just section 2A. There's, I think, 7 weight classes that there's guys in that tournament that are ranked number 1 in the state. There's only 14 weights. 7 of them are all in section 2A that are ranked number 1 in the state. So this weekend's tournament is really, to somewhat extent, a state tournament feel to it because you got the big dogs there. I won't be going to that, but I'll be reporting on it. But it's tough. And if a guy gets injured or something this weekend, doesn't make state, and the team's going to state, it's going to hurt the team at that weight level that is going to state.
So New don't fill out your team bracket till after this weekend, is what you're saying.
It's a tough. If it were a fantasy sport, it'd be a tough sport to put your guys in to play a fantasy team or a fantasy individual because it could really swing. That's all I've got here for sports. We'll see you next week.
All right,
we'll have Major League Baseball kicking off here this weekend. See ya.